the fire we were under, if we wouldn't have got our heads up, they could have been coming up that hill and, you know, trying to overrun us. Because, like I say, it was coming through the cam net, which was, even when we were laying the trench, not even a metre above us. Major Swift got the call, or however it works, up higher, and said we need people to go out to a place called ANP Hill in Now Zad, because the Gurkhas are being overrun. They're down to the last few rounds each. I think there was like 16 of us, 14 of us, some from Mortars and 5 from my lot. So there's only 2 machine gun groups and Keith Watkinson, who was the commander. I enjoyed the fact of you going into the unknown, and, you know, I just see it as that's more of a challenge than knowing exactly what you're going to be doing. We got dropped off and right next to the hill, thankfully, because, like I said, with the drums and certainly the mortars as well, the amount of kit you carry at times. I think I carried I must have had about 4,000 rounds of ammunition of 7.62, plus all my own personal kit. But we were told we were going out there for 2 days, so it was a 2-day operation. So I had my own rifle, the tripod, loads of ammunition, food and water for 2 days, and a little, like a fleece or something for at night, no sleeping bag, no toothbrush, no wash kit. Now Zad was under a lot of contacts at the time. When we got up there was tracer flying everywhere. I think people were taking pot shots at us, but like I say, we were trying to get up the hill and see what was there.
You do that?
Yeah, we got to the top of the hill and it was just a round hillock. You know, there wasn't really much there. There was one little sort of building that was small. So obviously, drums being drums, we had to be at the front of the hill because we got dropped off at the back of the town, or back of the hill to the town. We had to then obviously make our way to the front. And I think that's where we found or fell into little old Russian trenches about that deep. Yeah, about that deep. There was a few trenches dotted around that weren't very deep, so we set up our position on the other side of the trench and used the trench as a bit of a defensive position until the morning. We all knew once we'd got in there why the Russians had only dug them that deep, because it was just rock. It was just solid rock. Like as we got extended, they brought pickaxes for us, and we were digging down for about a week, most of the night, and we probably got down about another inch, and that was it. So we decided we'll build up instead. The mortars got the first kills on the first night when they were embedding the mortars in. I think there was a Taliban meeting going on in some woodline where they decided to fire. I think Sergeant Gibbons knew that there'd been an attack and that's where they'd gone into, so he decided to fire into that. After a few days, we had a night where we christened it Suicide Saturday, because they just opened up on us from everywhere just as it was going nightfall. I think there was like 4 or 5 different firing points, and us being at the front of the hill took the brunt of it. But we picked them out. We seen the muzzle flash, and you know we won that firefight with massive rates of fire compared to them. So they never, I don't think they ever attacked us again at night, or as it was going dark. I think they realised the capability of the GPM GSF, because we were on them within, as soon as they lit up the area of where they were, 2-3 seconds, they were getting 20 round bursts put on. So I think we shocked them with our capability. So they never made that mistake again. After that Suicide Saturday, as we christened it, I think after that they realised, yeah, this is going to be a very full-on tour. This, you know, we don't know how long we're here. We don't know whether we're all going to make it back. But if we stick together, we've got a better chance. Frankie Canham and Dean Fisher, who were the 2 gunners, they'd be on the target within 2-3 seconds after, once we got into it. And I was like, yeah, you know, we're not going to be defeated here unless we run out of ammunition, which fortunately we didn't. We were told we're getting extended. That extension went to, I think, 5 days, then it went to 2 weeks. And then Major Swift came out with the rest of our company. We had like JTACs with us and stuff like that, but yeah, it was mainly Fusiliers. It was a 2-day operation that just kept getting extended and extended and extended. when we first got there, the early mortar teams, they were easy to get because you just seen the puff of smoke from where they fired it. They hadn't watered the floor or put it on a wet carpet or something. So we'd see the puff of smoke, we'd report it to Martin Gibbons, and him and his team would fire one back straight at them, and you know, more times than not, get them or make them disappear. But yeah, another team came in, they were a lot more accurate. They knew what they were doing to hide the signs, and I think they had a duel for quite a while. The whole town was dangerous because it was full of just like rat runs, as we called it, under the town and things like that, where you know the Taliban could travel around where we can't see them, and they know the town a lot better than us. Luckily, we had two good snipers with us who were spotting quite a lot, and they were like noticing that things are getting built up to be firing positions and things like that. So, you know, bubble was getting dumped somewhere, and like or Bryce Sullivan would be like watching it, and then seeing that you know it's getting built up, and it looks like it's for a reason to be a bit of a defence for them in an attack. So they might attack us from one place, go in a tunnel, come back up there, and fire from there. So he was warning us, like when he seen anything, and saying, look, Spennie, they're building up. It looks like they're building up a bit of a position there, so that could be used for future attacks. So it's good to have his knowledge on stuff like that. We didn't really engage with the locals. The Afghan National Police did. They'd go down in the town. We didn't really necessarily trust all of them. In fact, we didn't. I'd say there's a couple we trusted, but certainly one of them we ended up arresting. I was at the back of the hill on a few occasions, because I was the gun line 2IC. It was my job to supply the guys with ammunition. Couldn't keep it at the front in case we got any direct hits there, because we were more vulnerable. So I had to keep getting up and running and grabbing the ammo and ferrying it forward. And I remember being there and seeing this Afghan National Policeman, and he went and stood in front of my gun, which was on the left, as I'm looking from the back of the hill. And he stood up and down about 6 or 8 times right in front of my gun. So I kept an eye on him, and he went over to Dunk's and Fish's gun, did exactly the same, and then went inside the little building that we had up there. It was like a shrine. As soon as he went in there, both guns just got hit massively with the most direct fire they've ever come under. So I knew, and one of the guys that was with me knew, he just totally marked our positions on us. But I had to get back over there, and I was like, I don't really fancy this. I've got to go over there. And my boots were undone and everything because it was that hot. I've been airing my feet. So I just chucked my boots on and just, I just legged it back over. We grabbed some ammunition and legged it. I was thinking, shit, I don't want to be doing this, but I've got to get there. And when I got there, the guys would just, I don't even know how I got in the trench, to be honest. The fire was that accurate. But miraculously, I managed to get in there, and all the guys would just lay down in the trench going, whoa. And I looked up, and we had a little bit of cam netting, and I just seen rounds going straight through it. So yeah, we was under like a really accurate attack for a while. In the end, like me and Frankie and Duncan, that just made a decision, said, we're going to have to do something. Well, you know, at least one of us or two of us are going to have to put our heads up, and so we did. I grabbed the gun and went onto their position, and even locked the gun off because I couldn't get up that high, and just got up there, seeing roughly where they were, because I knew anyway from when I was running, and just fired quite a big burst in that area, and it gave us a chance to get our heads up then, and like I say, take over and get their heads down and make them disappear. Up on the hill, we were really lucky. Chris Freeman grabbed a guy who was, again, we were under mortar attack, and they fired a mortar, and Chris Freeman dragged another one down a hole, a lad called James Allen, I think it was. And as he did, luckily, his mortar barrel exploded where they'd both just been, because their mortar got a direct hit on one of ours. So, you know, we had some very close calls. We didn't move off the hill. Like the sections that we had with us supporting us would rotate after a week or two. Yeah, drums and mortars, we couldn't really leave our positions, because, you know, if you take one of us out, we've only got one operational gun, really. So, yeah, we stayed there 107 days without a shower. So we all smelled amazingly. there was times where we nearly ran out of ammunition, and you know, we had limited water and things like that. In Now Zad, I was just getting normal blues, handwritten ones. Yeah, so they could obviously take weeks to get there. And then, to be honest, and I agree with this, the mail's the last thing. You know, I'd rather have had sandbags and ammunition, food and water than a letter at times. I slept in a bit of the trench area with Frankie Cannon, and you know, after a bit, you just think, right, I need to disappear to the back of the hill and speak to the mortars or the other sections, because it's the same. You know, you just run out of things to talk about at times. You get that close. I knew what he was thinking most of the time. It was 2 days, then it went into 5 days, then it was 2 weeks, and then, like I say, 107 days later, it all came to an end. Obviously, we had 147 or 48 attacks in the 107 days, from Chinese rockets and all that sort of stuff to mortars. We had a big duel with the mortar platoons, where they had some specialist mortars coming, probably from Pakistan, well trained, who were nearly hitting us. One landed about 2 meters in front of me. I had a big rock in front of me where I'd sit up spotting, and then a mortar landed just the other side. I just remember spotting, and I never heard the pop, and this mortar's landed, and thank God it was the other side of that rock, because otherwise I wouldn't be here now. I just turned around and looked at Frankie, pulled the binos down, and he said I just had 2 rings on my face where dust was everywhere apart from there. It came to an end, and the Marines came in. I think for a while a lot of us had battle shock of some description, because we found out that shutting Land Rovers or doors sounds like the initial pop of a mortar being fired from a distance. So yeah, I know a lot of the guys, including myself, for quite a few months, was like, every time a car door shot, I was like ready to take cover. I'm thinking, right, you know, it just brings all them memories back of, certainly mortars for me were the worst, because there's nothing we can do about it. Once it's fired, it's fired. You know, nothing you can do. If someone's firing small arms at you or anything like that, certainly mortars, if they're firing it from behind a building or behind a hill or anything like that, me with a GPMG generally can't get them. So with mortars, you sort of felt helpless all the time, whereas with the like small arms, RPGs, they're going to give you an opportunity to give them back. So yeah, mortars I hated. We went out for a while. You know, there was quite a lot of excessive drinking and partying, let's say, but it just formed a bigger bond for us. Some of the lads got in trouble, including myself, a little bit, and then we were given notice to move to go back to Afghanistan, I think in the January or February. It was a brilliant experience, you know, living under the hardships. I think you can live under anything now. So yeah, it was a brilliant experience overall.